To start with, we set what we call LADE's image, which is basically comprised of its members, its board members primarily, and the staff and the projects that we run between two election missions. So whether it's the 4 years between parliamentary elections or the 4 years between municipal elections, it's basically the work and the contact we have every day with media, with political parties that shape up this image. The second level, which is really crucial, is the election observers, which were, I think, the topic that triggered the occurrence of this webinar when we were discussing in the Gendem launch, in the declaration launch, how to maintain the impartiality of election observers. So basically, we divided this into how are they recruited, how are they trained, and who are the partners that are helping us in recruiting them. Moving on to the big day, the E-Day, and we divided it into deployment, the deployment plan, what we call the control mechanisms to make sure that we are maintaining impartiality, and second, the information sharing, internal and external communication. And then moving on to what we do post-elections, whether it's the review process for the statements that we're going to issue, the forums that will be released, and the evidence that we are providing, again, to make sure that we maintain impartiality. To start with those layers, we'll start with LADE's image. Again, starting with the membership, which is the actual face of the NGO. They represent us everywhere, and that's why we have to make sure that they are impartial and non-partisan themselves. We have adopted what we call the multi-step system to really accept members. It starts, of course, by recruitment, which can be through a friend referral, through a project we're doing, through a local partner. And we can extend this to talk about membership and about volunteers for observers, because not everyone who observes are actually members. We have lots of volunteers who observe and who aren't LADE members. They might be members in any partner organization in the coalition, or even volunteers that just decide to do this act of observation. Anyhow, for both of them, we have a series of steps before we accept them. The first is when they become prospective members, they have to sign in an application form, and this has to be endorsed by 2 current LADE members, so that we make sure that someone at least knows them. Where do they come from? Can they check their impartiality? So 2 LADE members will have to sign the application form. Then our volunteers and members unit arranges a small discussion with them. We usually group them either by region or by date. So every time we compile 15, 20 new application forms, we sit with them and open a discussion about politics, about why they want to join LADE, about their previous experience in civil society and life, what's their drive. And this really helps us form an image on why are those people joining and what's their interest. Then we try them out in what we call less sensitive contexts, so election observation in a university or in a syndicate, where actually there is less media attention, less risk for their actions to really influence our image and our perception as being biased or not. After all of those steps, the members become eligible to be actual observers on electoral day, and I'm talking about the national elections, municipal or parliament. Some of the lessons learned on that level are based on our experience. We always had, specifically when we had what we call troublesome new applications, they usually come not separately, they come in groups. So you notice that you get 20 new memberships in 1 week from one region, because then you can sense and you can feel that someone gave the message for those people, go and join, we want to influence the observation process. And this happened with us in the 2007 by-elections, that we noticed, and we kept an eye on those observers who really turned out to be politically affiliated, and they were in to cause some trouble actually, and that's how we were able to spot them from how they together. Also, our major lesson learned in terms of working with members is you cannot build trust from one experience. You can only accumulate trust based on several observation missions, several partnerships. You engage them in other projects related to electoral reform. How committed they are, how engaged they are, gives us a good indicator, if you like, on how can they act on electoral day. on elections day. Yet it's easier, if you like, to make sure that control mechanisms are there from the organization's side, rather than make sure that the members will be non-partisan on their side. So it's more work on our side. That's the conclusion we kind of came up to. The other layer would be that actually affects LADE's image a lot is the board members and the executive team and the projects we conduct between two election observation missions. They take specifically board members, they take the major decisions. So we have to have in place in the bylaws some important control measures for who they are. Basically, we have 6 elected each year for a 2-year term. So each year, only 6 members change, while the other 6 are remain in the board. So we don't have a fully new board. We never have a fully new board. Thus, we maintain from one side institutional memory, and from the other side, we don't have any surprises. Like on the year where we have elections, a whole new board is there which has not been tried out. No, we have them already. Half of the board have been there before. The bylaws, our internal bylaws, they stipulate that board members must not have a position in any political party. We believe that political membership and political activism is a right for people, so we're fine with this for members. However, to run to a board member position, you have to, you cannot be in any case a leader in any political party. We try as much as possible to be inclusive in the board, whether it's regional, religious. Unfortunately, to take into consideration the Lebanese context, we have to have different religious backgrounds, even gender, age, etc., which gives the board enough collective wisdom, if you like, to be able to take the decisions on the right time under pressure. And we think this is definitely a key factor in the impartiality of the entity, specifically that board members are usually well known in the community, whether they are university professors, media figures, etc. They are a key figure in maintaining impartiality. So after membership, board members comes as a major point. Finally, of course, our staff, our executive team, and the projects, and the reports they issue, and the meetings they do with political parties, and in their media appearances, they form, again, one of the major image builders, if you like, of the entity, and thus much care is always given to who they are and what can they do. Some of the lessons learned on that level, what we discussed about the board and having the board members being well known in the civil society sphere in particular. The discussion is always, do we need technical people, electoral experts, elections experts, people who have been in deployment plans before, who can help us technically, or more of the political profile people, as it's usually hard to find a combination of both. So what we try to do is to optimize the board by having people with technical expertise and people with with a high political profile. And by political, of course, I don't mean being members in political party, but being engaged in the political circle, being able to have sound political decisions, etc. Definitely, we assess the background of each member, and okay, great. So Hadi has joined, and we try to make sure that we are responsive, that the board members are active and responsive at all times, because again, we believe they play a crucial role in the maintaining the impartiality of our organization. Our second lesson learned on that level is that being available for political parties as a reference always helps us in maintaining and building actually the relationship with them until the day of elections, when we already have some sort of a credit to go back to. They actually know us, they trust us, so we can the relationship is now personal and present between us and them, which much eases up much of the tension on the day of elections. And when we kind of accuse them of conducting violations or whatever, they know who we are. They have called us when the new electoral law is out so that we explain it to them. We have trained sometimes their candidates, sometimes their delegates, so the relationship is there. This definitely helps, if not only maintain impartiality, but ease up the relationship between political parties and the monitoring NGO. So it's definitely a recommendation we adopt. On the third level, building the capacity of the staff because again they are our non-partisan face specifically in the year of elections is something that you can never invest too much time and effort on. That's our third recommendation on the level of staff members, projects, and board members. Moving on to the next level of and the next major category, which is the election observers. Recruitment is the main challenge, and we put the first point, which is Lebanon is a small country and basically everyone knows everyone. Of course, this doesn't mean that we exert less effort in recruitment or in, and that's the way we basically vet who are the observers, but that's something that we noticed from our contact with many different observation missions around the globe. Lebanon is a small country. People do know each other. We are a familial community, so it's easy for people. It's easy to track someone back and know if he's a partisan or not, if he's politically active or not. Our coordinators are usually from the regions, and that's our second point. We basically recruit through regional coordinators who are usually LADE volunteers and experienced LADE members, what we call veterans in the regions. Those people already, their credibility have been established with us. They have been tested through different observation missions, thus we trust their decision. Those are the people that actually do the recruitment in the regions and take the final decision on recruiting or not an observer. And those people know the observers. They know where they come from. If they don't know them personally, it's easy for them to track them back. So that's our approach in recruitment. In training, which is a crucial step, we definitely go back to we divided into three major training workshops that each observer has to attend, and that you're not certified as an observer. You don't sign off on the sheet on the pledge of being non-partisan before you finish the three, and you of course you don't receive the observer's kit before you finish the three trainings. Having three trainings gives a chance for coordinators to get to know who are the observers. They meet them once, twice, three times, and in each workshop we have some interactive sessions where we actually hear them out and put them into scenarios and case studies. So we are really able to assess who are those observers. Usually our three workshops are divided into the first workshop, which is more into what observation is, its importance. We refer to the global declaration to make sure that they understand the bigger picture of why are we observing. We differentiate, and that we believe is a key factor, differentiating between having a political opinion which we support and encourage and allowing it to influence the conduct as an observer. We have noticed this several times. The more we give space for the observers to be actually, you have the right to be politically active. There is a debate in the country. You should practice your right to vote, yet you can't show this. This really allows them to be, they feel relaxed and they feel that, okay, we are practicing our political view in another place. Let's be non-partisan and show this non-partisanship in that place. Definitely we explain the electoral law and they sign the code of conduct and the pledge, etc. And then we go on into the second and third workshops to the technical training on filling the forms, on how to use the SMS system, on how to monitor on that day. So training plays a major role in terms of clarifying the global principles. Why are we doing this? Explaining non-partisanship, sensitizing them on the importance of this, and giving them the freedom of political choice. On terms of the lessons learned on that level, first of all, what we said, give them space. That's important for political opinion. Make the training interactive so that the coordinator and the trainer can really get to know more the observer, and make sure that, and we have, of course, I'm sure as everyone else, had cases where observers were we deduced from several hints that the observers aren't really non-partisan, aren't impartial, and they will influence our credibility, and we have to withdraw them either on the elections day or before. We refuse that to have them join our teams. We clarify that we don't trust your intentions to join the team, and thus we don't recruit them. And we make sure that we illustrate this and emphasize this to all the observers being recruited, so that they feel the threat that this might happen, and thus they abstain from conducting any behavior which shows being biased. Again, the major lessons learned on election observers and recruitment and training. Moving on to elections day, the big day is definitely the most challenging. The exposure on that day is not really limited only to the staff that we trained and to the board that we trust. It's up to the 3,000 observers that are deployed everywhere, and thus creating what we call control mechanisms is the key on that day. What we mean by control mechanisms is basically putting checks and balances in place, whether it's in deployment, whether it's in monitoring the data that and the violations they are sending, and we'll get into details on how do we do this. Another point is we don't deploy observers in their own district or village, but in a neighboring one, allowing them to vote and practice their right, and that's important and crucial for us, but not allowing them to be influenced by their peers, their families, the political parties in their village, etc. That's a major point we focus on. The general, if you like, highlight of the elections day for us in terms of maintaining impartiality is to find the right balance between putting enough control mechanisms so that you make sure your credibility isn't influenced, yet not to lose important information, not to be timely, so violations have to be checked twice and 3 times, thus you're too late submitting it, and thus becoming too bureaucratic and having a complex process which isn't flexible anymore. This balance is hard, yet we believe is the key to maintain impartiality, and this is how we do it. Again, we're looking forward to hearing how do others do it in the Q&A session. Basically, we observe in teams. We have, first of all, to explain our process, we have fixed observers which are distributed based on a sample to represent all the polling centers, and they provide us with the data on all the statistics, how many people are voting, everything from opening the centers on time to having all the logistics ready, etc. And we have the mobile teams of observers which roam all the other centers. I think last elections we had around 20% of our centers having fixed observers, and there are 80% were covered by mobile observers. Those mobile observers observe in teams, so in each team we at least have, in teams of 3 actually, and in each team we at least have one veteran, one experienced observer that we know before, we have tried before, we trust, and thus he can make sure that the other newcomers are monitoring and observing in the right way. That's our first control mechanism for elections day. The second is what we call support teams, which are the teams that observe the observers. And those are the trainers, the coordinators in the region, previous board members, experienced LADE members, people who at least have experience in 2 to 3 observation missions, and thus can take the right decision on the spot. Whenever an observation team comes up with an important violation, he contacts directly the support team, which comes usually they are positioned in the regions. We make the deployment plan so that each 3-4 teams have one support team, so it's easy for them to reach them quickly and intervene quickly, and thus they join to make sure that what is the violation being reported, what may, sometimes it's about assessment of the situation, is it too risky, is it not, oversight of the observers. So even when the observers are deployed, the support teams join, they check if they are contacting any of the political party delegates, if they are doing any behavior they shouldn't do. So we have we don't like the term, but in a sense they are some sort of observation police. They are the police, our internal police that we use to control observers and to make sure observers are doing the right thing. That's our second filter, if you like. The major violations, after being checked by the support teams, are transferred to central data monitors, which as well are, of course, well trained and well chosen friends of LADE and members who as well can assess at the moment the type of information that we get, and then based on all of those levels and layers, the final outcome, which is the violation being out, is reported. And this is of course a bit too bureaucratic, might sound a bit too bureaucratic, but is our way of making sure that whatever we are issuing out is definitely checked once and twice. And so far, with the right number of people being there, it hasn't been a delaying factor in terms of time. We have managed to be quick yet accurate in what we are showing. Again, Lebanon is a small country. In total, we have around 940 polling centers usually in the country, so it's easier for us as compared to maybe experiences in your own countries. Finally, our forms and that observers fill are definitely another kind of mechanism to make sure that the data that we receive is coherent and is impartial. There is no space there for personal opinions and observations. They have to include in the form the proof. Someone has to sign, or someone has to, or a picture must be attached. So there is no space for making up violations. They have to be true and accurate. Moving on quickly to communicating those violations internally first, we again have the data management strategy. So we have the team of data managers who verify the info before passing it to the secondary filter. And here I mentioned in the previous slide that observers report the violations to the support teams, and then directly to the and then the support teams move them on to data monitors. Sometimes it's the other way around, because some of the violations we receive by the SMS system. So observers report them directly to the data monitors. Thus, the data monitors report those back to the support teams to check them and vet them before we publish them. As for external, all this process so far is internal. The external communication, what do we publish, is filtered again by the committee, which is usually in the office and in the operations room on the day of elections, where we have specified only specific members are assigned to speak with the media, to come up with, to kind of share with the media the situation, the general tone of the elections, how is it going, the feel, and report the violations. Those are usually trained on how to deal with the media, how to answer questions, and thus we can, in a sense, control the image that is being perceived from the outside and how our image is formed. Another important point we would like to highlight is to make sure when to answer accusations. It's typical that political parties, specifically when we do reveal a big violation, whether it's bribery in a certain area or pressure over a voting, the head of a polling center, or pressure and facilitations for citizens to vote. Usually, it's typical that the political party directly bashes us in the media. Specifically, as I mentioned before, the media is usually biased, so they go onto their own media platforms and start talking about our non-partisan role. And it's been a lesson learned for us on when to answer those accusations. Answering them on the spot might be actually the wrong thing to do. We just leave them out to settle, and then 2 hours later we get an accusation from the opposing political party, which is itself some sort of a credit for us that we're actually non-partisan. We are annoying everyone, so we're not really annoying one group, not the other. I think it's a crucial point to make sure when to answer those accusations. That's a lesson learned for us. Again, for external communication, making sure that media is always fed centrally and in the regions, because if you don't specify to the media who to meet in the regions, they might just hook up with any of the observers they find in the region, and which might not be the best person to talk to. So we make sure that we have a plan set, clearly set, and sent to the media who to contact in each governorate, district, CASA, etc., who to contact centrally, and thus make sure that the information being in the media is more or less controlled. Trying to be a bit quicker and move to the lessons learned from the elections day. We try to anticipate the hot zones where the media is usually there, and by hot zones I mean hot in terms of the having an electoral battle there, or hot in terms of the security situation, and thus we send more teams, more manpower. Media is expected to be there. Our actual test for credibility is in that region. How do we deal in that region? The district of Zahli, which actually determined the majority and the minority in the parliament in 2009, is a good example. We knew from before that media will be there. We will be heavily accused if we do mention anything about Zahli. We sent from before support teams, more manpower to Zahli, and they were able to make sure throughout the day that we're on the right track and that everything that's coming out is right and accurate. The decisions and who takes the decisions on that day, again, responding to accusations, withdrawing or not withdrawing the observers is a crucial role. So make sure, and is a crucial role for maintaining impartiality, not only the security and safety of the observers, but what happened inside in 2010 is that one of the candidates and the political parties there was trying to kick us out of the city. So that Saida is a city in southern Lebanon which had strongly contested municipal elections. They were trying to kick us out from the city so that they can do more violations, but and we had to take the decision: do we take the risks, stay there? They were heavily attacking us in the media. It was crucial to take the right decision. Do we stay there and prevent those violations from happening, or do we maintain the safety of our observers and withdraw? We did stay there, and luckily it went well. I think it was one of the major lessons learned for us. If we left Saida on that day, we would have definitely made one political side a big favor. That's how this might influence, such decisions might influence impartiality. Again, impartiality and credibility and the view on impartiality from the level of the election managing body, which in our case is the Ministry of Interior, was highly established and supported when they noticed that our main objective is to prevent violations rather than just document them and report them. In several cases, we are all the time in touch and in contact with the Ministry of Interior and with what they call the operations room. So in many cases, rather than just registering the violation, we were telling them about it so that they can avoid it. So if something is missing in terms of logistics, if we notice that someone from the internal security forces is actually non-partisan, we always report this to the ministry, and the ministry intervenes, and thus this is how we gain their credibility and trust when they saw us as allies and not as and yet keeping our role as watchdogs, which is as well a critical balance. But we managed to make I hope the right balance, so they do in a sense, in the positive way, fear us as observers, yet respect us and help us when we want. A major incident and a major example to share is when complaints came to the ministry about some of our observers in the 2009 elections being non-partisan and intervening for the influence of one political party. We directly intervened, checked this once it was through, and here is where the support mechanism, having the supporting units in the field, they intervened. This was actually true. We directly withdrew the observers, which as well raised our credibility with the ministry. Post-elections, it's not over yet. We have to make sure that what we issue in terms of the statements, how much time do we take to issue the statements, who is doing this, who takes the final decision, again coming back to the role of the board, how the board can influence impartiality, and in the role it plays every day is crucial. The timing and the content and the tone of the forums that we release, it's always a debate: do we name or do we not name the people who are doing the violations? How sure can we be? If we name people from one side, what will be the reaction of the other side? All those decisions are crucial, and they are, I think, what really builds on the image of the entity being credible and being impartial or not. Of course, the type of evidence provided is crucial, and one of the major contributors to impartiality. Finally, how to follow up the relationship with regional volunteers to make sure that we maintain them till the next elections. We don't lose them out to any of the political parties or groups. Other practices, quickly to mention them, is our funding policy. The context in Lebanon, the political context, American money is seen as a factor influencing one side, not the other. On the contrary, Qatari money or Iranian money can be seen as well as biased. So making sure that we have a balanced funding policy that maintains equal distances from all sides and all sides of the political spectrum has been crucial for us to maintain impartiality. Another note is that the board maintaining good relationships with all sides of the political spectrum, to be able to intervene in the cases that we mentioned before, pressure on the observers, accusations in the media. That's another factor to keep in mind once recruiting the board. And finally, addressing problems quickly really are, I think, crucial, because one missed step in that level can really influence a lot our image of being biased or not. Definitely many challenges to maintaining impartiality that have recently became more visible, specifically as the election observation missions became more open to people. We have our slogan, which is every citizen is an observer, and that's not only a slogan, it's actually our objective to achieve. We want citizens to be reporters all along, to have this this eye which represents our logo on every citizen's level, and make sure that they do report violations. Yet we want to make sure that control mechanisms are there and that they are not reporting biased violations. Thus, open data sharing and social media, as we have used Twitter and platforms where people can share pictures in the last elections that we monitored, and the lack of filter, the lack of possibility to filter, since social media platforms are open to all, has been a challenge for us, which we are studying thoroughly on how to control. Do we have people sent to us, or do we, and then we centrally basically we filter and make sure that we are only switching the right, we are only sharing the right violations, is one challenge. Or do we keep it open to all and we issue our own statements and then we don't claim responsibility for all the others, is another option. However, in general, the open platforms are definitely a challenge for impartiality. That was a brief of our experience. I hope we spoke definitely much more than we hoped that we will. We are definitely looking forward to hearing your suggestions on all the levels that we spoke about, whether it's the image of the NGO, the members, the board, the projects, whether it's recruitment or training of observers, whether it's the elections day, the deployment plan, the internal and external communication, or the post-elections activities. How do we document? How do we put the proof, etc. I hope our experience has been relevant and useful, and we really look forward to hearing your feedback. Thank you.